Hi everyone, Parth here, and I want to talk about 5 things I wish I knew when I was first learning how to tap on the guitar. If you like this video, then please hit the thumbs up button and subscribe. Let's get into it. Number 1. Let's start with a tip from the brilliant Guthrie Govan, which helped me immensely when first learning how to tap. The tip is that when you're tapping, you shouldn't think of this part, the pull-off, as a reverse tap. In other words, just because you have to tap quite hard to play this note, you shouldn't think of pulling away equally as hard to end it. Instead, in order to transition to the next note, you actually need to move this way, laterally. I like to think of it as turning my finger into a pick. And this applies to pull-offs on the fretting hand too. You actually need to pull the string in this direction in order to generate a loud enough next note. Number 2. Tapping quickly and efficiently is more about accuracy than it is about power. I remember when I was first learning to tap on a guitar with a terrible setup and the strings were like 5 miles away from the fretboard and I didn't have the technique down yet. I spent ages just hammering the fretboard, trying to generate a decent sounding note. Well, on most guitars you don't actually need this. The key is to find a part of your finger that allows you to comfortably tap the note and hold on to it. This takes some trial and error at first, but you should be able to rest your hand on the fretboard after tapping and not have to fight the string too much. Also, you have to be accurate in tapping near to the fret that you're trying to play. If you tap a little bit further away or in the direction of the nut, then the string isn't held down quite as firmly against the fret and the sound is less loud and consistent. A great way to practice this is to play very slowly without the guitar plugged in and see if you can generate notes at an even volume on each finger, whether that's with your tapping hand or your fretting hand. This way, you're practicing tapping and hammer-ons and pull-offs all in one. Number 3. I imagine many of you learning to tap will also use a pick or plectrum to play the guitar. If you don't use a pick, then this tip won't be as useful for you. But if you do use a pick, then again, chances are you hold it between your index finger and thumb, because that is what is generally considered good technique, whatever that means. In that case, I would recommend starting your tapping journey by using the middle finger on your picking hand. This will allow you to transition between picking and tapping quite smoothly, without having to fumble around with the pick too much. Eventually, of course, you should learn to tap with every finger on your picking hand, but I've often seen people start with tapping with their index finger and then fumble with the pick when switching between the two techniques. It may feel easier to start with the index finger, which sometimes has more control and clarity than the middle finger, but trust me, start with the middle finger. Transitioning to the index finger will then become easier later down the line. Now, if you're one of those cool people that hold your pick between the middle finger and thumb, then by all means feel free to start tapping with your index finger. Basically, choose whichever is your strongest finger that isn't holding your pick and start learning how to tap with that one. Number 4. Muting the strings is really important. This is a great tip for guitar playing in general, but when tapping specifically, here's what can happen if I'm not properly muting my guitar strings. Firstly, you can hear other strings ringing out, which isn't ideal, but also the string you're tapping can often be playing 2 notes at once. The one you want to play, which is caused by the vibration of the string on this side of the tap note, and also the note created by this part of the string vibrating. Now, this is more prevalent on guitars that aren't set up perfectly, but even well set up guitars where the string is close to the fretboard can suffer from this problem as well. So, use whatever spare bits of hand you have to deaden any notes that shouldn't be ringing. When doing single note tapping like this, I like to use my left hand here, mainly the index finger, and then this fleshy part of my right hand mutes the lower strings. Experiment and find what works for you. Number 5. When you start tapping, you'll likely start with learning the classic eruption or something similar. This is a really nice way to start with tapping, but it can be very easy to get stuck just doing stuff like this. Again, it's really cool to be able to do this in the first place, but there's also a lot of other things you can do with tapping. Remember, one benefit of using this technique is that you can play intervals that you just couldn't with one hand fretting and one hand picking. I could, if I wanted to, play this interval here, almost the widest possible interval on the guitar. The second lowest note available to me, followed by the absolute highest note available to me. Use this to your advantage to create ideas and riffs that include large jumps between notes. Also, you can do the cool thing where you can just bar a chord with the fretting hand and then jump around the fretboard playing nice sounding notes. When you pull off, you land on one of the notes of the chord. The simplest place to start with this kind of technique is to play a chord and then tap notes that are exactly 12 frets or 1 octave higher than the chord notes. This is a simple way to mess with chords and an octave altogether, which would be very difficult just by picking and fretting. And from there, you can jump around the fretboard and find notes that you like and work well with the chord that you're playing on your fretting hand. And with all of that being said, those are my 5 tapping tips. Thank you so much for watching, and please leave your own tips in the comments down below as well. Let me know if you found this video helpful, because I'd love to make more like it. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.